Hello, my friend. Welcome to the forecast for December 23rd until December 30th. We are near the end of the year, and I am happy to announce that this week there's going to be a lot more indulging and pleasure and fun and play, a lot of reflection time as well. It's just so appropriate as we are possibly going on vacation, hanging out with more friends and family, and enjoying the holiday season. So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen. And thank you so much for your support by hitting that like, subscribe button and the bell so you're notified every time a new video is up. I'm going to, oops, not this one. Sorry, everybody. Let me get this to present and present. Okay, so we are going to start off with Monday. Now, a lot of what I talk about on Monday, we will see throughout the week. So I do recommend staying for the full day forecast for this day. And then again, the moon is what moves around quite a bit. But we've got a lot of active moon days that we will be encountering. Now, let's begin with our sun. So, our sun is in the sign of Capricorn, which is an earth sign. And how appropriate because Capricorn has to do with really getting resourceful and, going through the details and planning some sort of long term strategy, long term accomplishment, mission. And we're already getting to this space of like, oh, what are we doing for the next year, 3 years, 5 years, if you can think that far out ahead. But it is very practical in nature and getting down to the plan. It's prepping. There's a lot of preparation that's happening. If you think about, earth sign, it's very grounded, it's very practical, it's very disciplined. So the way that I see a lot of this week, it's about disciplined dreaming. This is a time to really explore your dreams and your visions and play around with it. Nothing has to be set in stone yet, but it is the time to set aside space to start envisioning, mapping, playing around with different possibilities. So long-term planning over just being impulsive. And look, remember our Mars is in retrograde. That's going to be in retrograde all the way into February, actually February 23rd to be exact. And this takes our drive and our fire and our ambition, and just that go for it energy and just launch and start and initiate. That's in retrograde. So we're being called to, hey, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Don't jump into it immediately. Now with Sun in Capricorn, it's like, I want you to really reflect and think and ponder and consider what are the consequences? What are the outcomes? What, if you choose this, how will it develop? How will it unfold versus that, versus that, versus that? And when Mars goes direct, okay, in its normal direction, then that will be a really great time to start and initiate. So if you feel a little bit like slowed down and maybe there's a part of you that wants to go, but you know that it's not the right time yet, that's because Mars is in retrograde. Okay, so let's take next a look at our moon, since moon affects our mood so easily. And moon is here in Libra. And this is going to be also a nice sign for peace and harmony. Libra does not want to stir up drama. Libra likes it calm and beautiful and peaceful and having, delightful conversations and, fun social engagements. Pleasure and play are what Libra is about too. Beauty, the arts. So being around people, going to events, going to some group activities, those are things that the moon in Libra really thoroughly need and enjoy and love. So go hang out with people. This is what's going to really help you. And plus, you're going to get a lot of ideas. Like Libra likes to actually dialogue and brainstorm and talk about this and talk about that. And in the process of doing that, you're probably going to get some important information towards this sun in Capricorn, towards this long-term planning that you have. So go out and gather some data, gather info, gather energies, gather ideas and experiences and places and spaces where you just take in, especially as a hypersensitive, as an empath, think about you collecting and gathering ingredients for this ultimate dream and plan that you have deep inside of you. So that's what our moon in Libra provides. And not only that, we've got some really nice aspects to moon in Libra today. And this is for Monday. We have a sextile to Mercury and a trine to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter brings a lot of optimism and positivity. So your moon's going to feel really good. And plus, like Mercury and Sagittarius, this is going to provide a lot of inspiration too, a lot of fire. And this is another big picture. Like Jupiter and Sagittarius both are more about big picture thinking. So this is only going to support and add and help you with this long-term plan that you have. So if you're getting a lot of ideas, because this is going to tell me like your mind's going to be going, okay? It's going to be going. This is not just let me sit back and chill. And it's not work either. I don't want you to interpret it as work. It's excitement. It's inspiration. It's exuberant. So your mind is just going to be like dreaming this and dreaming that and really enjoying this process of imagining. So your imagination may be more expanded, and possibility and hopefulness and optimism is all funneling to the moon here in Libra. So a very, very nice mood day, a very nice moon day for sure. Okay, so let's kind of take a look at some of the other aspects that are happening besides the sun and the moon. But the sun, moon, Mercury, and Venus, and Mars, these are a bit more personal planets. So these planets affect us more intensely on a day-to-day basis. So that's why I do a heavy emphasis on these. Whereas the outer planets like Neptune and Pluto and Uranus, those move a lot slower and they have more of a collective impact, more of a group impact. So let's go ahead and talk about this Mercury in opposition to Jupiter. We've had this before, and then Mercury went into retrograde, okay? And so then that opposition separated, but now Mercury is no longer in retrograde. Thank you, thank you. I had quite a time with Mercury retrograde. I had so many disruptions in my home because it was happening over my fourth house. And oh my goodness, my daughter ended up getting lice, and then I ended up getting lice, and that was my Mercury retrograde experience. That was 4 days of chaos. Ooh, the cleaning, the treatment, the clinics. Thank goodness there's clinics. I had no idea. This was my first experience with it. So yeah, I'm very happy Mercury's direct, let me tell you. So now that Mercury, it kind of moved back, but then now it came back here to 10 degrees of Sagittarius. Now we have this opposition here. And as I've said in previous forecasts, not only is Mercury and Jupiter in opposition, Mercury rules Gemini and Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So they're in each other's houses, in each other's signs, basically. And so we have this kind of struggle, this tension between, oh my gosh, there's all these ideas, but then there's all these little details. And so you're kind of going back and forth between, ooh, I can see it, but then what about this and this and this and that? I feel like there's a lot of what ifs that could surface here too. So here's the thing. This is my recommendation in this week. Don't get too attached to any particular idea yet. I want you, because sometimes I do this. I come up with like an idea. Let's say there's a workshop that I want to do, or there's a product that I want to make. And then I start investing all this time into it. And then I start to get really attached to that idea. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, well, it's got to be perfect. And it's got to have this and it's got to have that. And, da, 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 da. And maybe in the end, it's actually not something I'm going to put out there. It's not anything I'm going to deliver. And then I get really upset that, wow, I just like wasted a whole day in ideation on this thing. And I come to find out I'm not going to be doing it. Look, I don't want you to look at those moments as wasted moments because you're probably going to want to think about 5 things at the same time with this Mercury-Jupiter opposition. Your attention will definitely be scattered, distracted. The whole squirreling around is going to be real, all right? But just try to practice emotional detachment from all the ideas. Let them come through and write them out if that makes you feel good. I have a whiteboard where I just dump everything, or journaling or whatever, or voice notes. I would get them all out there, but that doesn't mean that every idea that you have is going to be a viable physical thing that manifests in this life, okay? Just because you have the idea doesn't mean we have to act upon it and implement it. However, sometimes you got to flush through 12 ideas, and then that 13th one is like, that's the one. But you can't get to that 13th one unless you go through the 12. So that would be my best recommendation for this time, as we have this opposition going on, and that opposition is going to be happening till December 30th. So I really want you to be more playful about your ideas and not so serious. Go develop them out. Go expand them out, all good, but that doesn't mean you have to be so emotionally attached to it, okay? So that will help you out dealing with this aspect here. Now, we've got Mercury square Saturn. This does help. It's a bit tense here because squares, these red lines are a little bit, it brings some challenges, but it can also bring a lot of discipline. And so that's why this energy of discipline seems to be strong here, especially because, look, Saturn rules Capricorn, and it's all about commitment and discipline. And that's why I say discipline dreaming. Discipline dreaming is one of the major themes for this week. Is, you're going to be consistent in your exploration and consistent in your reflections about the past year and the year ahead, etc. So it can also bring some challenges to communication, for sure. A little bit of pessimistic in thinking. So if you're finding yourself just focusing on what is wrong, or in your ideation process, that's not going to work out, that's not going to work out, that's not going to work. Like, you keep just shooting it down before you even develop it. That's because Saturn is aspecting this in a square. So keep that in mind. But, that's not going to be around forever. Till December 31st. So, there's some really cool things and there's some difficult things happening. I just want you to be patient this next week and into the end of the year, and get through it with all of this mental restlessness and visioning and imagining and dreaming. But we do not need to come up with anything conclusive yet. You have plenty of time. You do not have to figure everything out by December 31st so that you start everything on January 1st. That is not the way this is going to play out. Okay? This is not. So just don't get too attached. All right, let's talk about Venus in Aquarius, because this is also a personal planet that affects us. And what does Venus represent? Venus is right here in Aquarius. It's this light blue, sky blue planet right here with the circle and the cross below it. And this represents our relationships, our partnerships, our friendships. Another meaning for Venus is money. It's our finances as well. Now, it is in Aquarius, so we are probably going to be drawn to people who are a little bit eccentric, who are a little bit different, okay, maybe even rebellious. But Aquarius is also very cares about humanity, is very humanitarian, and loves group activities. So here's another indicator. We're going to group events, going to workshops, for example. I would try to do some live and in person if possible, but just being around interesting people that poke the box in society, there's going to be more of a fascination with those types of individuals and people in your life. So engaging in groups and communities, like I said, would be highly recommended here. Venus is also in trine with Jupiter, so that's really nice. That means, that in our conversations, in our relationships, in our interactions. It's got a positive aspect from Jupiter, which brings a lot of optimism and playfulness and fun. Overall, I feel like our interactions with people, they are going to be one that is pleasurable and enjoyable. So please make time for people. Well, it is the holidays, so it kind of makes sense. We've got New Year's around the corner too. And then this could also be a potential opportunity for some financial growth here too, because Jupiter grows and expands things. It basically heightens and makes things bigger, and it's in a positive conversation with the planet that represents our money. So we can see a little bit of growth there. But socializing, networking, the arts, Venus is the planet of beauty and art as well. So going to a musical or a play or a comedy show, that's a great option here with this makeup and the setup for sure. Things of that nature. Go enjoy yourself. Okay. So let's see what others. Oh, you know what? My apologies. I need to go back to Monday. We have Venus square Uranus. And when we have a square to Uranus, Uranus brings unexpected surprises, events that's kind of disruptive and take you off guard. That's actually what happened with my Mercury in retrograde. It was right over my Uranus in my house of home. And so my whole home became completely disrupted, unexpected surprise. So, yeah, pay attention to that. It can also create a desire for freedom and independence and just being a bit like rebellious and different as well. Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. So Uranus and Aquarius have a lot of similar significators, and they're also in conversation in a square aspect as well. Okay, but this can also bring a little bit of impulsivity too. Now, the next one is Mars opposite Pluto. We have talked about this in depth many times, but I just want to mention it. I'll be mentioning it just a couple more times because it's around until January 17th, but we've already passed the peak of this, so it's getting less and less. But what I do like about this is it does cause us to confront our fears and also assert our desires. So the positive side of this is that it can act as a catalyst to overcome challenges. It can be a catalyst to initiate and start something very grand and powerful in our lives. So it can bring a lot of personal transformation too. And one of the aspects of Pluto that I learned, and I love this, is that Pluto tends to make the small big and make the big small. So this can be exacerbated with this Mars in opposition. So, I can take something that is so minor to when you look at it from the outside, but then get very emotionally distraught about it and very upset about something that is really trivial, or trivializing matters that are actually very important. And so that's one of the features of Pluto: make the small big and make the big small. And then we have this fight with Mars, so I think that can also be heightened. So if you find yourself tripping up over things that are seemingly truly minor, like logically when you think about it, like, wow, why am I overreacting here? Then it's because of this opposition here. So till January 17th, but it is getting less and less. So thankfully that is the case. Now the last aspect for Monday that I want to talk about is this Jupiter and Saturn square. So here's Jupiter over here that looks like a 4, and Saturn looks like an H, and there is a red line in between the two. It's a square, and this will be around until January 22nd. And this is another point of tension of, expansion and growth and restriction and challenges. So look, there's a lot of back and forth that's happening through the end of the year into January, basically into January and a little bit into February. But you want to do this and go that, but then you're like slapped with the reality of, wow, that's going to be a lot of work. It's about wanting to take risk, but also being very cautious at the same time. So in some ways, it's not going to allow us to run away wild in this fantastical perspective. But with Saturn opposite Jupiter, Saturn is not going to drag us all the way down to that's not going to work out, because Saturn can be kind of pessimistic, like you're being unrealistic. That is just a pipe dream. You need to take care of your responsibilities. So in either case, it's like it's a balancing act too. There's a tension here. So in some ways it could be helpful so that we don't get too ahead of ourselves, but at the same time, we're also not going to just squash a dream because it seems hard to reach, And so we're going to be dealing with that internal struggle here. So we may, and even in the process of us developing this vision that we're working on, right, for this month and even into next month, as we're developing this vision, we're also going to be disciplined about it too. So that's another expression, is because Jupiter represents grand visions and dreams. And the Saturn will help us to come up with a roadmap, a map into working that dream and enacting that dream in a way that is very doable and tangible and approachable as well. I actually, even though it could be a little annoying with that internal struggle, I also think it's for our benefit so that we don't just get carried away with dreams that are not really that we can't bring to fruition. It's going to make sure that the dreams that we have, we can work through them and manifest them into this physical reality, have a way to do it, and have a roadmap for it, and be able to truly implement it. So that's what I do like about this. Okay, very good. And also just being realistic of what it takes for that dream to come true. That's what Saturn's going to bring to Jupiter here. Okay, so Tuesday, next day. So that's our Monday. Like I said, a lot of what I talked about is going to be influencing the week, except for the moon, because the moon moves a lot. So on Tuesday, we still have our moon in Libra, and it has two positive aspects to it. So I would say Tuesday's a really nice day. It's a very nice day. And it is, okay, it's the 24th. Perfect. So the 24th, so this is going to be Christmas Eve for those of you who celebrate Christmas especially in North America. We have Moon trine Venus, and Moon, let me see, Venus is right here. There's a blue triangle line between them. And this is going to bring a lot of emotional harmony, great it'll be easy to connect with people. It will be very effortless and enjoyable, and we'll just be enjoying quality time with the people that we are with. It's just super feel good, okay? There's also aesthetic appreciation, definitely appreciation for the arts. Look, Venus rules Libra, so how nice that they're also in conversation. So there's just going to be a need for socialization and fun and pleasure and play and also beauty, okay, and the arts. So a lot of generous feelings too, very kind and compassionate and harmonious. This tells me that a lot of our gatherings, especially if we're with family, they should be on the more peaceful and harmonious side rather than the contentious side. So that'll be nice. And then we've got Mars in trine with Neptune, and Neptune is over here down at the bottom, this trident looking blue planet. And that's also in trine over with with Mars, not with Moon. It's in trine with Mars right here. So this is going to increase some inspiration, increase creativity, increase sensitivity, taking really compassionate action. So like the things that we're doing are going to be very kind and loving and helpful. So, all adding to this lovely mixture that is Christmas Eve. Okay, so that's Tuesday. Pretty decent, pretty nice. And then Wednesday. Wednesday, we do have a change. So this is actual Christmas Day. For those of you, again, who celebrate, Moon has transitioned into Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is not its favorite sign to be in. Okay, it's in its fall. So Christmas Day might be a little bit more emotionally intense, and there could be heightened intuition. However, the one positive thing though is depth of connection. When Moon was in Libra the day before, it's just really easy flowing, nice back and forth in our conversations. Now, when Moon is in Scorpio, we're going deep. Like, we're maybe talking about our traumas. We're talking about our pains. We're getting real vulnerable and honest about what's happening in our lives, kind of past the superficial conversations. So your hidden feelings and even your hidden desires start to surface and start to be more of topics of conversation. So this is also a good time for healing though, okay? Because it's an opportunity to expel, to purge, to release that pain too. So it might always feel good coming up, but it's transformational and it's healing. So there is that. Now we do have Moon trine Sun, which I'm sorry, not trine, it's sextile. It's sextile. It's like this blue star line right here. That's helpful. That's very helpful because that also gives us this harmony between our thoughts and our feelings. It also helps in our communication and connection with other people too. So, if you have some very deep, important things to say, at least there's going to be harmony and receptivity by the people that you are sharing this with. And the whole Moon in Scorpio is very intuitive. So your intuition will be a bit sharper, a little bit pronounced. And then you also have the sextile with the Sun, which illuminates your intuition a bit more too. Okay, so that's that one. Let's go into square. There is a Moon square Mars happening as well. So that could bring some aggressiveness, some frustration, some irritability. And then, of course, it's heightened here with the Moon in Scorpio. But thankfully we have that sextile between Sun and the Moon. So I feel that you'll be able to have fruitful conversations, okay, productive conversations, and really be able to get it out, whatever you need to get out. So yeah, it's a pretty intense day, okay, for Christmas Day. Now, Thursday, let's take a look on Thursday. We still have Moon in Scorpio, so that's still the same, but we have some different aspects to it. We have Moon that is in square with Venus. This could make conversations and connection a little bit tense and challenged as well, more sensitive to criticism. You are not going to want to hear people's criticism of you. If it's positive, fine. But if people are, trying to like confront things with you, you might explode back. You might not take that quite nicely. We do have Moon trine Saturn, which does at least bring some emotional stability. So maybe that's a little bit of a saving grace because Saturn is more grounded. It is more mature. It's more responsible and wise. So even if you are, having some more heated conversations and they're really uncomfortable, thankfully, we don't have this blowout with Mars because we don't have a square anymore, but at least with Saturn here, you're going to handle it well. You're going to handle it like an adult, like a mature adult. So we do have some grounding that Saturn provides here. But then, we have this opposition to Uranus. I'm just saying I'm glad that the Saturn is trine here because we have a square to Venus and then we have an opposition to Uranus, which Uranus can bring about some instability. So I'm hoping that the Saturn just cancels out what's happening between Venus and Uranus. You'll have to let me know. But yeah, Uranus always brings some restlessness and instability, and it's a bit more explosive, kind of like a lightning strike, just hits you out of the blue. So, another cool thing though with this is one of those like random hits of like a creative idea coming through too, or intuitive hit, just strike you out of the blue. So that's one positive aspect and result from an opposition of Moon and Uranus. So let's just hope that that's the case. Now, Friday, oh my goodness, get ready. Like it is an electrifying moon day. And I'm not saying that as necessarily a positive thing. The moon, look at how many aspects are to the moon. We have lots of blue lines, but we've got some red lines too. This is going to be an emotional day. I just want you to get prepped and ready for Friday, December 27th. You're going to feel so much. And it may change from 1 minute to like 5 minutes later, it's something totally different. So I just want you to be prepared. I wouldn't do something on this day that is very serious, that that requires your focus and attention and like no, let's keep Friday quite open for whatever. Okay, whatever is possible. Because look, if you're a hypersensitive and an empath, like you are gonna feel the jostling of all of these energies from all the different planets talking to the moon. It's kind of like there's 6 conversations happening at the same time and you're trying to listen to all of them, and that may be what it feels like internally for you. So let's just go down the line here. So we've got moon is already, like I said, in Scorpio. All of your feelings are going to be heightened. It's going to be more intense, more pronounced. That's just the nature of moon in Scorpio. So if it's a positive thing, it's going to be really positive. And if it's a difficult thing, it's going to be really difficult. Okay. So the first one is moon square Venus right here. So we have this square line down to Venus. This can create like feelings of just dissatisfaction in your relationships, maybe feeling a bit detached or disconnected with your partner, for example, or just with your friends. You're just not, you're not feeling like you're with them, even if they may physically be there. This could be struggles with affection too, whether it's giving or receiving. Okay, so there's that. We have moon trine Mars, which is nice. I like that. That could bring a sense of motivation and drive and maybe even like courage and a surge of emotional energy of like, oh, I'm so thrilled and excited and ready to go. This can also really strengthen your intuition and just feel like your animal instincts. So gut feelings here, this conversation, if you have a gut feeling about something, you're probably right. And if you feel impulsive about it, probably right, actually, with a trine between Mars and Moon, and the moon's here in Scorpio. So probably a good time for physical activity. I would say movement would be really nice on this day. Water would be really nice on this day since moon is in Scorpio, but moving water, rushing water. So I like taking showers or go near waterfalls, go by a creek that the water is actually moving, not a still pond. That's not the kind of water that we want to see with moon in Scorpio. So rushing, moving water, not a bath. I like baths for moon in Cancer, but I prefer showers when we're dealing with Scorpio energy. Okay, so that's Moon trine Mars. Let's talk about Moon opposite Uranus. I already had this discussion about unexpected surprises, even like unexpected creative or intuitive hits that come through as well. But this can bring some explosiveness, kind of like Mars, just agitation that just comes out of nowhere. And so if you have a moment of like, it's just too much, that's because of Uranus. Now, we also have Moon trine Neptune, which I love, love, love. That's one of my favorite aspects. Well, probably because I have this aspect in my natal chart. But this one brings increased intuition, increased imagination, okay? Dreaming. Like this is so good for dreaming, visioning, etc. It is also very compassionate. It is just very emotionally sensitive and heightened as well. So if you need to like read the room, you'll read it. You'll absolutely read it. And plus Neptune is in Pisces, which is the modern ruler of Pisces, and so it's in a really great location. Whenever we've got like Moon, Neptune in water signs, that's already telling me like your intuition, and especially with this trining Mars, is going to be on point. Okay, on point. So your dreams are going to be more vivid. Even like as you're planning, right, for your future. Like I see Friday as a wonderful access point for you to really tap into your aligned and real dreams and desires that will come into vision. It'll come into clarity for you. And look, there is this grand trine between Mars, the moon, and Neptune. Oops, I'm sorry, my bad. I went ahead. So between Moon, Mars, and Neptune, ooh, talk about passion and access to your dreams and your visions. Okay. And then you've got the sun and Capricorn energy to help you to actually outline it and map it out and plan it. But that like inspiration is going to be just circulating here. I really like Friday for you taking time, really set aside time to plan your life now. This next chapter and this next season, get an open like or sheet of paper and start doodling, start just writing things or drawing things or mapping stuff out. Like this is a powerful day for that. Please don't let it pass you by. Even if you set aside 1 hour, I would say at least 1 hour. I'm not going to be like 10 minutes, 30 minutes. No, give yourself a full hour intentionally inviting in these dreams, these plans. Maybe do some sort of meditation. I think meditation would be great on this day to just soften you and open you up, and then dive in and go find what you need to find. Okay. Not only that, we have Moon sextile Pluto. All right. We have Moon sextile Pluto, which is really, really cool. Talk about healing and self-reflection. This is only going to help you dig in all the way into the center of your being, okay? To your higher being. Like you're going to, again, have access. It's going to be easy to tap into. It's going to be easy to touch, easy to reach, easy to express, easy to read yourself. Okay, feel yourself. Everything that's hidden. That's the thing with Pluto, is that what was hidden comes up to the surface, and your sensations, your bodily sensations and your feelings are going to tell it all. Okay, so very nice. You're going to be able to be very vulnerable. If you have any healing work or amazing meditations, if you have access to that, this would definitely be a day for that. Okay, now let's continue on to Saturday. All right, so Saturday, we have our moon that has left this Scorpio energy. Look, Friday essentially that's a really a day to go inwards, okay, and reflect and listen to yourself. That's what Friday is about. And I said at least 1 hour set aside to do that, please, because that'll be an investment in 2025. Think of it as an investment, my friend. All right. Now, Saturday, we have the moon that has transitioned into Sagittarius. And Sagittarius, we've got both moon and Mercury. They are conjunct at this point because they are only 6 degrees apart. So they are together, they are one. So we've got the mind with Mercury, and then we have the emotions with the moon. So we've got the conscious mind with Mercury, the subconscious mind with the moon. So now they are together. Now they are being able to communicate with one another. How great is that? And then when we think about Sagittarius, remember, Sagittarius is that free spirit, all right? It is the free spirit. It wants to explore. So furthermore, exploring your mind, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, they are in harmony. You're going to be able to express clearly what you're going through and what you've been reflecting upon. You know, like we've had a lot of feels this past week, from Monday up until today, and now we can go ahead and transcribe them better. Or let's say you've had all these little doodlings and writings and, you know, drawings or whatever from the past week that's just been coming up to the surface and it just can't stop. Okay. Because Mercury is in opposition to Jupiter. It's just coming and coming, going. And then I think of Saturday as the day where you're starting to put some dots together and it's all starting to make sense. Like you were gathering puzzle pieces before, and now with Mercury and Moon together in Sagittarius, we're able to put those puzzle pieces together to now create that whole picture. So very, very cool. I like this moon conjunct Mercury for that. We also have moon. Well, since Mercury is opposite Jupiter and they're next to each other, of course, moon is going to be opposite Jupiter. This can, you know, intensify our feelings too when Jupiter is aspecting the moon. So it could intensify our inspiration and our optimism and positivity. Absolutely. It can also cause being a little bit exaggerating a bit much as well, being a little bit excessive about things. But I feel this overall is going to just bring more excitement and just feeling inspired by our own dreams and our ambitions. That's the way I see this playing out. We do have Moon square Saturn. So Saturn tends to bring a little bit of like, heaviness sometimes, and just like don't get too carried away is what Saturn will say. So that'll be there too. But this moon and Mercury conjunct in Sagittarius is a pretty strong configuration that I feel that it will overcome whatever Saturn is trying to knock down. So, but if you get some of that, it's because of Saturn. Okay. We do have a T-square that we need to mention. It's between, here's Moon Mercury in opposition to Jupiter. And what is at the apex of this T-square? So you'll see a red big triangle here between the Moon, Mercury, Jupiter, they're in opposition, and then Saturn. Saturn is at the apex, so it's at the top of the triangle, all right? So this whole like, all of our ideas going all over the place, right? What's going to help it? We talked about this last time when Mercury and Jupiter were in opposition. We had this exact setup while it was in retrograde, but Saturn is the answer here. So Saturn is, you need to add some structure somehow. Add some structure to your brainstorming, okay? Come up with a system or something. And start planning things long term. Okay, if I go down this road, then this needs to happen and that needs to happen and this will probably happen. Like really go expand it out. Think Saturn's about long term. So whatever you focus on in this next year, right? Which I'm not going to say is January 1st, but in this next upcoming year, it's right around the corner, is making sure that you have a long-term mindset around it. I will say for a long time, it's been hard to plan things out 3, years, 5 years in advance. But since we have this configuration, it's asking you to think beyond just 2025. All right. So as you're planning your life, please start thinking all the way into like 2030s. That what you choose to focus on in 2025, it's not just for that year. It is actually at least like a 7-year thing, like a 7-year cycle. So reflect and see if, okay, is this something that I can feel good about and be content with and happy with and looking forward to devote 7 years into this? And there's just some years that are like that, that mark like a decade, right? You start something one year and that ends up staying for a long time in your life, whether it's the next 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years, or whatever, like a relationship, right? I've had a decade-long relationship. So I want you to really think with this T-square, it's saying, hey, you gotta think, this is what I'm intuiting right now, at least 7 years. Could be more, could be a little less, but it's right around that period. 7 years, think like that, okay? And is it worth your time and your life to do or engage with for the next 7 years? Okay, last day, Sunday, and we still have the moon conjunct Mercury. So I like this configuration. I like this conjunction because you're really going to be able to clearly think things through and feel things through. It's going to be very easy. I feel it's going to be very easy for you to be like, yeah, I could absolutely do that for 7 years. Or heck no, nope, not possible, not interested, nope. So I like the clarity of even our intuition. This Mercury and Moon here together, especially in Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is about the future. It's about future visions. So this is another access point, for your intuition to be able to tap into that next 7 years, make it easy for you to see the consequences and the developments of one choice versus the other. All right. Now Sunday. Well, I did say Sunday, sorry. Moon conjunct Mercury, we already talked about that. Moon sextile Venus. This is going to make real great, especially with Mercury conjunct the moon, great conversations, ease in conversations. So I would start talking to people, like your inner circle, your close inner circle, about what you have gone through this whole week. There's a lot happening internally this whole week. So have those conversations, talk it out, express it out, maybe, do some writing. I think writing is actually exceptional. Mercury has to do with writing. So journaling, writing is going to be very important this week too. And Saturday, Sunday, especially. Now we have Moon square Neptune. That is a little bit challenging. That can provide some confusion, some cloudiness, but it can also heighten intuition. So I feel personally there's a lot of great things happening to the moon that it will overcome this. So, like I say, you got to look at the big picture. It's not just because it's one aspect doesn't mean that it's going to be super, super strong. If there's other aspects and other things happening, it can kind of weaken that original one that I was just talking about. So I'm not too worried. I feel very positive and very hopeful that you're going to get some internal answers. You're going to get some answers and you're going to have some idea. It's going to be up and down. You're going to flush through a bunch of things, but by the end of the week, I'm not saying you got to implement, but I think you're going to get a lot closer to what you've been looking for. We're getting closer and closer and closer. That's how I want you to look at this. Okay, so that is our forecast. If you found value in this, I would so appreciate a like and subscribe and hit the bell and share. Thank you so much for supporting me and sharing these forecasts. I absolutely adore giving this information to you, and I do hope that it is valuable and helpful to you. And enjoy your holiday time, travel time. Please be safe. And of course, we'll be back with another forecast. And in the beginning of January, February, I will also be sharing a 2025 forecast. I'm going to try to keep it an hour and go over just some of the major points from month to month to month. And then when we get into end of January, I'll be talking about the Chinese astrology as well, as it's the year of the snake that's coming up. So, and if you'd love to learn more about corrections and mitigations and how to handle all of the energies as a hypersensitive, check out my Rise and Thrive membership. That will be linked down below. We also do very cool summaries and tips for Rise and Thrive members of the forecast if you don't have time to listen to a whole one. But you can get all the highlights and all the tips from day to day to day, and you can check in if you're having a rough day, what the tip is for the day. All right, love you much, and we will see you in the next forecast.